hello. I guess it's not as empty.
I want to speak to a dragon. Griffith says they don't talk, but I don't know.
Talk to a dragon?
Griffith, what does it mean when people wear amulets in Mara?
They wear it to tell people they want to get married.
Oh.
Oh, so if I wear one, will you marry me?
Sorry, but I'm a little too old for you.
Oh. Will you at least come to my wedding?
I'd like that.
Griffith told me not to talk to strangers.
But we are already talking. That means Khajiit's not a stranger.
I guess that makes sense.
What are you two doing here?
Griffith and I are playing hide and seek.
Ah, I love hide and seek. Can Khajiit play?
Sure, but not till this game's finished. Right now we're still hiding. The black and red monsters are seeking.
Tell me about Griffith. He sounds kind of interesting.
He's the nicest, bravest man I've ever met. One time he saved me from 3 monsters.
3? Monsters?
Yeah, they wear all black and red because their skin is creepy and gross. Griffith says they're playing hide and seek with us.
Oh.
But I want to play with someone new. The monsters play too rough.
Tell Khajiit about it.
Well, we were headed towards Windhelm when it was getting dark. We made a camp and prepared for bed. I got up to go to the bathroom.
Good plan for
That's when the
sleeping?
monsters came for me. They're sneaky monsters who like to come out of the dark. So when I saw them, I closed my eyes and screamed as loud as I could.
Good
I
job.
kept screaming until a hand closed my mouth shut. I was so scared. I thought the monsters got me. But then I heard a whisper, and I knew I was safe because monsters can't talk. I opened my eyes, and it was Griffith.
Sometimes, child, the real monsters are people like you and me. Khajiit doesn't really know why she said that, but it can be true. People can be terrible.
Why?
People can fall victim to wanting things and you know, yeah, and anger and other things.
Why?
Oh, Khajiit is not falling for this again.
Why?
Is there anything else you can tell Khajiit about Griffith?
Well, I know he doesn't sleep much. I think he has bad dreams or something. He also doesn't like to talk much. I only ever see him talk to me or the innkeepers, and even then he doesn't say much. I think he might be a little shy. Hey, why don't you try talking to him? You're really nice, so he might like talking to you. Yeah, go talk to him. I bet you two would make great friends.
Khajiit will do that. But she is curious. Where are your parents?
I don't have any parents.
Oh.
Francois at the orphanage said everyone has parents, but I'm not so sure.
Khajiit
I've
doesn't
never
have
met
parents.
them anyway. But Grella the Kind once called me a worthless little Breton. So I guess they were Bretons.
Well, that was quite rude of her. Khajiit, she doesn't have parents either. She had one, but when she was very little, her mother died. So she just knows what it's like. It is a horrible thing that woman said to you.
Yeah, I was so happy when Griffith came for me. I didn't like it there. None of us did.
Did you get along with the other children?
Heror was named after a lion, but he cried more than he roared. I didn't like Runa, not after she squished the torch bug I caught in the yard. Francois always bragged how his mommy and daddy were coming for him, so I didn't like him either. Samuel and Aventus were nice, though. They took the blame whenever Grelid wanted to give me the belt.
That was brave of
And
them.
Constance would tuck us in and slip us snacks when Grelid wasn't looking. I don't know why they call Grelid the kind one.
Probably to point out that she isn't quite as kind as she would like people to think. Do you have any fond memories of your time there?
Not really. Grelid was so mean. One night, Aurora was crying so loud that she took him to that room that was always locked. I didn't know what was going on. Samuel told me to cover my ears. Then Constance came in and huddled us into a circle.
That doesn't sound good.
She said we shouldn't be scared. She told us Aurora was going to be fine. I liked her. She was so nice. Then she sang to us. She sang all my favorite nursery songs. She sang pretty loud too. Loud enough you could hear it outside, but I didn't mind. Although I don't think she liked her singing all that much, because when she finished it, it looked like she was crying.
Oh, 'cause she sees, perhaps more than you do.
Bye.
Bye. So, excuse me, Quadoja, I would like to have a better view of Mr. Griffith
What?
here. Excuse me.
You've got the wrong house, stranger. The mill owner lives on the other side of the road. I suggest you leave.
Khajiit just wanted to talk.
Sorry, but I'm not looking for company.
Khajiit wasn't actually asking for it.
You certainly have an odd way of showing that, stranger. Do you also ask for meat when you're not thirsty?
No, Khajiit goes and talks to someone when a child thinks she should. At least in this case. And speaking of the child, what is with you and the little girl? It's very kind of you to be helping her.
I'm her guardian. Let's just leave it at that.
As you wish. I've already met the little scamp. Her name's Morgan. She spoke well of you.
Did she? I told her not to talk to strangers. What did she tell you?
Morgan said there were people after you.
The girl's too trusting for her own good. What of it?
Khajiit actually would perhaps like to offer her help. Orphans have a special place in her heart, actually. Maybe you ought to tell me what before Khajiit loses her patience and kill you both. Not really, Khajiit wouldn't do that.
If you want to fight, stranger, I'm more than happy to oblige. But leave the girl out of it. She's got no blood on her hands.
Khajiit would not hurt a child, honestly. She was kidding.
The Dark Brotherhood, they're after us. Her and me.
They're... What? Khajiit has been hunted herself, but not by the Dark Brotherhood. She just had some thugs after her, which were actually kind of a problem at the time.
Then you know how it is. Always looking over your shoulder. Never getting a good night's sleep. Never knowing if it's the last time. The last time to see the sun. Or to taste a ripe apple. Or to get pinched by the girl. Everything has a finale to it. It all feels so tense. So grave. I'd probably lose myself. Fall into old habits if the kid weren't depending on me.
It kind of sounds like it's a good thing that you have her to look after. But Khajiit doesn't quite understand exactly what you mean. She hasn't been hunted to the extent that you two appear to be. Why are you serving as her guardian?
I need a reason to protect a child.
No, you don't actually. But she isn't yours, and she's not really your responsibility.
For now she is. Has to be. She's got no one else. Now, eventually she'll come of age and no longer be the girl she once was. And the only thing connecting her to her past will be me. That's when I'll say goodbye. Not a second before.
This all... I know you don't want to tell me the story, but this all sounds very, very much like her past is what's putting you both in danger. Interesting. Why don't you just adopt her?
I'll admit I have grown fond of her. Despite all this happened, she can still make me laugh. My time with her has made me rethink my purpose in life. Perhaps I wasn't meant to be a killer after all. She even has the same dark hair and pale skin like me. She'd pass as my real daughter. But what kind of father could I possibly be?
Well, you seem to be making a pretty dang good one. So were you part of the Dark Brotherhood? You said you were a killer. Interesting. Yes, I think you would make a good father.
Maybe you're right. But there will come a time when it's safer for us to be apart.
Khajiit... Well, she's always curious, but... Why is the Dark Brotherhood after you, if you don't mind Khajiit asking? I mean, you probably do, so just tell her to shut up and she won't ask again.
I killed one of their contracts.
Oh. But there must be more to it than that.
Yeah. The Dark Brotherhood aren't just hunting a killer. They're hunting one of their own. Me.
Ha! Khajiit was right!
It's a long story. Not one I really care to tell.
Khajiit... Khajiit would really like to hear it, though, please?
Alright. I see you're not gonna give up until I tell you.
No, I guess not.
As I said, I was once an assassin for the Dark Brotherhood. One of the best they had. Only, murder wasn't enough for me. When a target is marked, a typical assassin kills without question or remorse. The murder is efficient. A transaction. No different than going to the market. Only, I took things a little bit further.
What did you do?
I had what you'd call a procedure. I didn't just stalk my targets. I approached them. I even befriended them.
Ew.
I needed to know the man I killed.
Well, why? You needed to know there was some morality behind each kill?
Maybe. At least that's the way I see it now. Not so much before. The Dark Brotherhood doesn't take sides.
No, just coin.
When a hunter tracks game for the butcher, it's not his place to ask if the deer deserves it. Yet, for some reason in the back of my mind, I always assumed they did. Some were less guilty than others, but all were guilty of indifference. Everyday people driven to murder, and the average target never gave two symptoms about what they did. Some even relished in it. This attitude, this unfeeling apathy that infects everyone around us, it needed to be purged. So I gained their trust and offered them a drink. The mead was a paralysis poison. Then I bound them and interrogated them until I found it. It was a game. I asked them to name their killer. They always assumed I was talking about me. That was always enough to earn them a one-way ticket to the void.
Khajiit can kind of see why you would want to know that the person that you were killing deserved it. I mean, bandits attack people, and Khajiit has killed bandits. And she's killed mages that have been attacking people on the road. She's not quite sure about your method, but she can kind of understand the reasons for it. She doesn't understand why you work for the Brotherhood, however. She will freely admit that. How does the girl fit into all of this?
One night we received word of a man performing the Black Sacrament in the Riften Redway. I was to arrange a meeting with him to get information on the target. The man told me of a story of a harlot who had taken everything from him. He wanted her to know the pain and anguish she caused him. Another jilted lover, I thought. Another uncaring woman. My specialty. So I accepted the contract on behalf of the Brotherhood. Tracking her down was easy. She was staying in some old bunkhouse near the Jarl's Keep. She wasn't a harlot. She wasn't even a woman. She was just a girl. Inside her wasn't apathy. It was innocence. The child wasn't even old enough to understand love. At first I thought there was some kind of mistake. Only when I confronted the man, he confirmed her identity. The sick bastard was in love with a child.
Oh my God.
And so that night, I killed not for apathy, but for passion, and took the child from Honor Hall.
So you killed the guy that wanted the contract done, and that is why the Dark Brotherhood is so upset with you. If Khajiit were in the Dark Brotherhood, she could see making the same decision you made. That is just... You killed the right individual. But why did you take the child if he was dead?
The Dark Brotherhood would eventually try to find her.
Oh.
Once the Black Sacrament has been performed, the mark is eternally cursed by Sithis. The sacrament demands blood, and they will not stop until the blood has been spilled. I've killed so many of my brothers and sisters. Some I even considered friends.
That would be difficult, to kill people you do and considered friends. But the Dark Brotherhood, Khajiit has heard it's had troubles. It's not what it once was. Perhaps you can escape?
It isn't just the Dark Brotherhood. The one who pursues me is Sithis.
Ah.
I broke a tenet, and in doing so, I betrayed him. Now every night, I am left to face his wrath.
Thus the troubled sleep. Now, Khajiit has been assuming Sithis is I guess a Daedra, because... Or perhaps a god she hasn't heard of?
Imagine, if you will, a room of complete darkness. You have a torch in your hands, but there's no light to speak of. The entire room is as black and cold as the midnight sky. Now imagine that darkness reaching out to you, embracing you into the very void itself. That's Sithis.
That sounds very horrible.
Nothingness and everything, all in the same form.
That sounds completely terrible, in fact. How did you end up in the Dark Brotherhood?
I was a young boy, living in an old cottage with my parents and older sister. She was about 5 years older than Morrigan, and promised to marry. It was the day of her wedding, when Lord Gabonia's men came riding in the field. I'll never forget the way their horses grunted and seethed, as if ready for war. Then the nobleman descended from his horse and made his demands. Some call it the right of first night, as if men of power needed to justify their rape with laws. No, they just took what they wanted. My mother pleaded for mercy, My father reached for his axe when one of the guards gutted him. All anyone could do was weep.
That's horrible.
Two of Gabania's men were dragging my sister into the cottage when they passed me by. One of them turned and looked at me, and our eyes met. There wasn't a drop of emotion on that face. That's what I remember most from that night. Not the murder, or the rape, or the screams. It was the face of that guardsman. The face of apathy. That I couldn't forgive.
Because you can understand that. This is very upsetting. How horrible. Your poor sister. If something happened like that to her family, because she begins to understand why you chose the Dark Brotherhood. What happened after?
They razed the town. Gabania really just wanted the land and the peasants cleared. When his lot forced themselves on the women, it was just for fun. No, not forced. Toyed with them, defiled them, and murdered their spirit. When they killed them all, they just left me there to watch. I mourned them for days, but my mourning quickly turned to anger. I thirsted for revenge.
Because you could
Yet I
understand
was
that.
just a boy. My anger alone would never be enough to kill a noble. I performed the Black Sacrament, but the Brotherhood never came. I knew then I was truly alone. And if I wanted vengeance, I had to do it myself. Gabania was out of my reach, but that guard, the one whose face was burned into my memory, that was a man I could kill. I pulled the sword from my own father's chest and watched him spill all over the ground. I kept that sword as a reminder. The blood had dried and crusted over the blade, but I never bothered to polish it.
Still couldn't have been easy to kill the man. I mean, after... Oh, this is a horrible story. Because she is kind of sorry she asked now. But, yeah. Killing the man still couldn't have been easy.
No. Looking back, I was lucky I wasn't a grown man. My size and build forced me to cling to the shadows. A grown man would have used the sword that felled my father to seek some sort of poetic justice. A boy was forced to abandon that for a dagger. I started out by pretending I was a beggar, nagging the guards for coin and bread. Not that it required much acting. My hunger was real. I pestered Gabania's men one by one until I found that face. He didn't recognize me. Of course he didn't. I tracked him day and night, from the barracks to the brothels. It was outside the inn where he was most vulnerable, unloading his mead. That night I hid behind a stack of hay piles. The twin moons were out, and there was no mistaking that face. I crept up behind him as he was pissing on the wall, the sound of the stream masking my footsteps. Then I slid the dagger into his heart. And when he fell to the ground, I turned his face over and cut his mouth into a smile.
That must have been cathartic. Made you feel better.
It was. I stared into that face for what seemed like forever, my body tingling with sensation. It wasn't until I heard that slow, condescending clap that I woke up from my trance. Then I looked up and saw Astrid.
And who is Astrid? Perhaps you don't care to tell me that. Do you have any advice for Khajiit?
Yeah. Don't join the Dark Brotherhood. The road it'll take you will be covered in not only the blood of your victims, but of your friends as well.
Khajiit wishes you well. You
Shadow hide you.
have chosen a very hard road, or
Yes.
it's been chosen for you.
What?
Good luck. Good luck.
Griffith says I'm smart, and that I could do anything I wanted. Though I guess he never considered I can't fly.
Morgan? Look after Griffith and do what he says.
Griffith says I'm smart, and that I could do anything I wanted. Though I guess he never considered I can't fly.
And really, do not talk to strangers.
Griffith, what does it mean when people wear amulets of Mara?
They wear it to tell people they want to get married.
Well,
Good to see you again.
Kudojo. It's very dampening to one's spirit to consider all the horrible things that can happen. And to actually be told of things that did happen. Things that Khajiit can do
Greetings,
nothing
traveler.
about. And there's really nothing Khajiit can do. Griffith didn't ask for help, or Khajiit would have done something. She doesn't know what, but she would have done something. All these horrible things, you know? And Khajiit is going to fetch a thief of books. I guess technically the books, but not the thief. Maybe one day, Kudojo? Maybe one day Khajiit can do something about things like that that happen to the innocents? What can you say? What can you really say about horrible, horrible things like that? There really isn't anything to say.
Say, Khajiit is curious. Did you like her video? Yes? Then please click the thumbs up button. Khajiit thanks you. Brrr.